I used that knowledge to start my own computer business.
And I went to AT&T, began working at AT&T. So actually MCI became Verizon.
For engineering, I studied the theory, but my thing was, how can I make this practical?
Within the software industry now, I mean, ERP, the support, all the back end things.
Many different industries. Starting with network and then going to project management, ERP, all these things.
But again, see, project management brings everything together.
That's the big question. So you say, what's a human? Göbekli Tepe, yeah.
Like Rumi, who was everything and a poet and everything, you could.
Okay, welcome. This is a special day for us. I have two of my friends, best friends, the first people I have met when I moved into Dallas, and they are very special for me. And luckily, they are both in IT industry. So, Manfred, perhaps we can start with you. Would you please introduce yourself to us for our audience, please?
Sure, Sadi. My name is Manfred Tabe, and I come from Cameroon. I was born in Cameroon. Moved into the US about 27 years ago. My background in terms of professional background, I went to a Cisco networking academy. Back when I came in, Cisco had these laboratories in some high schools and some colleges, 2-year colleges. So I went to one of those, and I had, studied basic routing, basic switching, and things like that. So with that, I began working for MCI Workcom back then, did support, and then from then I went into more training. I went to AT&T, began working at AT&T. So actually MCI became Verizon, after the big, meltdown,
one of the leading companies.
backdrop. So went to AT&T, was with AT&T. After AT&T, went into BI development, began doing BI, ETLs and reporting and all of the stuff that BI developers do. So that's the pre-sequel to what we have today, AI, right? So there was a lot of data warehousing, a lot of reporting out of those data warehousing and making sense out of that data and things like that, yeah. So, and my background also, so I also have, along the same line, I also studied, I had a degree in project management. So that actually did help me a lot, in terms of broadening my career. So you can see that I began with infrastructure, now I'm in programming, right? I'm in programming and database development, and then further I went to ERP support and ERP development, so support particularly Microsoft Dynamics and other systems.
Many different industries. Starting with network and then going to project management, ERP, all these things.
But again, see, project management brings everything together.
And I'll give you my reason why I actually went to project management. I'll give you. But so within the software industry now, ERP, the support, all the back end things. Particularly as I was working with Dynamics, and at one point, everything went to the cloud. And we have to look for somewhere. So we went from Dynamics, AX, into F&O and CRM. So at this point, what happens is that my job became almost obsolete. So I've experienced that as well. So I went into I just completely went into project management. Managing AI projects particularly, and then. Of course, AI was a very big deal coming up, very strong.
Yeah. Okay, Henry, welcome. Welcome to our channel.
Thank you, Sadi.
Thanks for accepting our invitation and joining us for today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay, so can you briefly introduce yourself, audience?
Sure. So my name's Henry Shelton, as Sadi said. I grew up here in this city, actually. We're in Dallas, Texas. And I started my career out in the field of biomedical sciences. More specifically, I was a biomedical engineer around the time, and this is going to age me, around the time MRI first came onto the scene. So right out of college, I was hired by General Electric to study, understand, and apply the theory and install MRI systems. And so in my early 20s, I went around the country installing MRI systems. And it really was, the science of it was intriguing, and it really opened the doors to a lot of things for me. So with that, I stayed in that field, and I also ventured into other forms of biomedical scanning equipment, such as CAT scans, such as positron emission tomography, which they call PET scan, some X-ray, ultrasound. So this was my initial field. And I chose that field at the time because I felt I would be helping humans, you know, in terms of health. So I was able to parlay the knowledge gained from that, being out in the field, working with the doctors, going in and out of hospitals, servicing equipment. I used that knowledge to start my own computer business, where PCs were beginning to be very useful now in not just offices but homes. So I started helping companies to connect all of their business processes with the computer. So I would help them design the software, help them to set up the networks. And I did that for probably about 15 years. I grew my IT company, which it ultimately became an IT company, information technology company. And we expanded our client base to some teaching. And I learned that I'm a natural teacher. So here's again, this is going to age me as well. So when the first internet browser came out, I think it was Netscape was one of them. There may have been others, but that was sort of my first professional foray into teaching, because I didn't get my technical degree to go teach. I got my degree to really design electronics and be the in-between in helping to service those. But so I was offered an opportunity to teach Texas Instruments employees on how to use the Netscape browser, the web browser. And so I wrote the curriculum, and I taught probably over 400 or 500 of their employees how to use the browser. And this felt good as I was there teaching. So I expanded my, we opened up a computer training center, my business partner and I, and so we started teaching other classes. Some of the productivity suites such as Excel, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, all the Microsoft stuff. So again, I hired instructors too, because I didn't particularly like teaching the technical stuff. Oh, really? I didn't, because I like to use it, but I didn't really like teaching. I enjoyed teaching the internet because it was so exciting, this new tool, this new horizon, and all of the possibilities it was going to afford.
But you have talent for teaching, for sure.
I eventually learned that, but it was a gift that was ingrained in me. And I'm going to do a slight digression. When I was a kid, I was 12 years old. I was raised in church. So I used to, in Sunday school, I would give a review of the lessons that we just had. And once this preacher came up to my mom and say, "This young man's going to either be a teacher or a preacher."
Oh, it's good.
And but at that time I already knew I wanted to be an engineer. So I looked at my mom and said, "No, Mom, I'm not going to be either one of those."
But afterwards, you start teaching.
Start teaching. So he saw in me at the time that this young man has a gift for teaching, for explaining things. So anyway.
So you have been in the IT industry, education industry together at the same time.
That's correct.
And the things are changing right now, right?
Things are changing.
So the students' expectations, the IT education, everything is changing. What do you see? What are the turning points in the industry for all these years? Maybe if I ask you something like, what are the major 3 turning points in the industry of the education or IT? What would you say?
Well, interestingly enough, and I'm gonna share something as I answer that question. My first business card was a human head on the left side of the business card and a computer on the other side. Wow. and there was a sort of a lightning bolt in between connecting those two. So here's the thing: computers have been used forever to help control things, manage production lines during the industrial age. And people didn't call them computers, but that's essentially what they are. But here's what's happening now with education, computers. There's going to have to be more of a connection, and there is. It's already happening. Because remember, at the end of the day, all of these things, if we go all the way back to the horse and the plow, remember, all of these things is to help improve life for humans, right? All of these are tools. Every tool we know, if we take a pair of pliers, wrench, all of these are helping to improve life, to make life better for humanity. So what's the turning point? The turning point is all humans fully embracing the technology, not for the sake of the technology itself, but for the sake of finding ways to make life better for humans. So even this new, so we've gone through the industrial age, we used it in the factories, we've gone through the information technology age, and how did that help? We connected all these computers, and it allowed us to communicate across distances, across the water. Now, we had phones, we could do that, but now we could send data. We could send large amounts of data. I didn't have to have my research papers stored in a file cabinet, as I see in your office. I could digitize that stuff, and I could share it with my friends over in Cameroon, over in China, over in Turkey, wherever I wanted to in the world, and we could collaborate. So if I didn't have the answer, I'm looking at formulas on your boards. If I didn't have the answer, I could share it with my friend overseas, and we could solve that problem together. But remember, we're solving problems. So this is what computers allowed us to do. It allowed us to make that human connection. It allowed us, we used to write letters. God, I miss the letters, but we write letters, we put them in envelopes, lick the envelopes, put a stamp. Do you remember those days? And we'd mail them. And even during war, soldiers would stop. They would find a way to stop and write a letter to send to their mother, say, hey, I'm still alive, I'm okay. But then the age of computers allowed us to stop, and even now we have the small computers, what we call phones, and we could say, I'm okay on the front line. I could even take a picture and send it, hey, see, I'm okay. So this is the turning point, is to better understand the technology in a way that it empowers humans. And so not just to work, but to have a better quality of life.
So, Manfred, you have these certificates and trainings, and one of the very famous questions coming to us is, does these certificates work? Shall I spend some time or money for these educations, or the universities? What would you say about this comparison, university versus certificates, or both of them together?
For me personally, I would say focus on the practical aspects, right, of technology. The certificates are very important. I mean, don't get me wrong, but the practicality. What can you do for me? That growing up, I grew up in an environment where it was more academia, certificates, and things like that. But come to realize, you see a lot of people out there without job. They have all the certificates without jobs. So, but the thing is, if you have those practical skills, you have an opportunity. And I believe a lot in internships. If you can have someone, even if it's unpaid internship, you have someone where you can shadow the person, that it goes a long way. Yeah.
And what would you recommend an entry-level person just graduated from the university or college? What would be the most important professional recommendation from you? What would you suggest them to do?
Presently, I'm dealing with a few of those. I actually manage AI interns in my organization. I'll say internships. Again, I'll say it. I mean, even among my interns, I even have those who have actually graduated this year. Who graduated, but they're still doing internships. Because like I said, hand-on skills are wonderful. I have a situation. My own daughter, in particular, she has been doing a lot of internships, throughout her college career. And so come to find out, you have a few friends, and that sometimes might happen to make you to lag behind a little bit in terms of academia. So maybe you have to repeat, you have to fall behind, a semester, or two. But then you've gained so much experience that, companies be wanting you and you're trying to hold them by saying, guess what, I need to finish this degree. And they're like, no, you have to come. We've seen that you've touched these things already, you've been under the hood and stuff like that. So, but that's the thing, experience, so internship, I would advise them, go for internship, if it's unpaid, still go for it.
Okay, very important. So, same question for you. What would you recommend the entry-level people to the industry? Maybe they are in the college, just graduated from the college. What would be the most important thing you would say them for their, maybe now the life expectancy is going longer, right? Maybe 50 or 60 years of professional life is waiting for them. So a very long time. So what would you recommend them at the beginning point?
So what do I recommend for kids, students coming out of school in terms of preparing themselves for industry, for life? It's really no different than what Manfred said for the most part. At the end of the day, practicality, applications. Remember I told you about my career. I started out, for engineering, I studied the theory, but my thing was, how can I make this practical? How can I touch the humans out there with this? So that's, I specialized in that, how to use this stuff. Remember my business card even. The human head, the computer. How do I marry those two? So for the student coming out of school that's going into the technical arena, you're gonna have to understand human psychology. You're gonna have to understand the human dynamics. You're gonna have to understand the human ecosystem. So don't dismiss that, don't discount that, because that's who you're solving problems for, right? You've already mastered the tools, the technology, but how are you gonna solve human problems? So find out how to get ahead of the curve by understanding the human mind, understanding human needs. And once you understand, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, once you understand that, being able to apply the technology to meet those needs, that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where you take companies into the mainstream and you have people knocking on their door saying, hey, I need what you have to solve my problem. And of course that comes with a monetization and people get paid. So yeah, figure out how to solve human problems. And as Manfred said, don't shy away from interning, watching over the expert's shoulder, because that's where you're going to get the exposure. That's where you're going to get the experience. So.
Very important. Human is in the center of everything. The money, absolutely. The technology, everything is.
Remember when we used to have a lot of apprenticeship? You went as an apprentice.
That's right.
Into perfecting your craft, right? And then even become a master of your craft. So think about it. There was always this human touch to it. I bring you along and you sit and you watch what I do. If I'm laying a brick, then you watch me lay the brick, exactly. So there was this human aspect to it, so that's one thing that we have to keep, Yeah, that's what I say, mentorship and apprenticeship and this interning, that's what it brings.
Okay. One question I have already asked Henry is about the turning points in the industry. So how would you name main turning points in the industry in the past? I'm asking this because I'm going to connect this to what do you expect in the future? I haven't asked you yet, but yeah, what are the main turning points in the industry for now, depending on your experiences?
Yeah, I think those turning points. Remember, I think when I was doing the introduction, I talked about the fact where some things, what I did became obsolete.
We had moved, just like from ancient time, like what Henry was saying, move from letter writings. Now we talk about smokes, to drums, So now we're taking a turn. Things move from on-premises, into cloud, right? And everything became software as a service, almost. So that's a turning point. Now you have another turning point, which is boiling right in there. Everybody's talking about it, AI,
Very
right? So, but the thing is, you have to do your research, and that's why mentorship again is very important. We have, for example, personally, I belong to an organization. I belong to alumni organization from Cameroon, from St. Joseph's College, SASE, right? We have a mentorship program, and this mentorship program is to be able to help those younger ones to be able to better visualize the future. In other words, you can be in school, studying, doing what you can do, what you want to do, and preparing for the future. And by the time you step out, you realize that everything's obsolete. You move somewhere else. Like you think about the young people who are learning how to write codes. Back in my days, learned wrote in Java, wrote in C Sharp, C, COBOL. But today, look at what's happening. They came out of college and AI can write the code. So what do you do? So somebody better tell you, start look at the future and start realizing that you understand the thing, but go beyond that.
Go beyond, yeah.
You see, very important. It helps you to navigate around those turning points.
Better.
Okay, Henry, what can we expect in the future, in the near future or in the far future? What do you see about the industry or the evolution of industry, evolution of humankind? We are changing, as Manfred mentioned. So what do you see in the future?
So Manfred made a comment a while ago. He said there was a time when the whole ecosystem of the sciences were connected, and we didn't when those few that were privileged to go to university, and I'm talking about in the days of the philosophers, they didn't just study IT. They studied the whole field of being, human existence. And your audience is probably going to get tired of me saying this, but this is important. It's very important because when COBOL goes away, when Java goes away, when C# goes away, you're still going to have human problems. So what do I see in the future? I see more, and I'm seeing this now. I see more humans getting, particularly as science begins to explore consciousness more. And as consciousness has always informed our human existence. It's always informed the material world. But scientists have to prove that, and they have the right formulas and algorithms. I'm looking on your board again to quantify this. So what's happening in the future is that we're learning what the philosophers learned now. We're learning the interconnection of all of these particular fields, the field of medicine, the field of mechanics, the field of psychology, but more the field of nature. But more importantly, we're learning the interconnection, how they intersect and where they connect. So again, and I'm going to say this a million times, but what's happening in the future is we have to understand the connection so that we can combine them. We can make the connection. Why? To improve human life, to solve human problems. That's something that's not going to ever go away. So to your audience, do not neglect the liberal sciences. Do not neglect the mind science, psychology, the study of human. So we're going to go the way of the horse did in the agricultural age. Remember, I shared with you earlier over a cup of coffee that my father was a farmer. The horses and the mules that pull the plows, they were out of work. They were out of work when the industrial age came around. So they were the labor force, right? We are the labor force now. So in the near future, and it's now, there's a new labor force coming, and it's called robotics. Yeah.
AI and robotics is the new
AI and robotics. So we are the horse of the agriculture age. So since we're the labor force, what do we do with ourselves now? Right? We don't have to go into the factories to work on the assembly lines to build automobiles because robotics are doing that. And I can go on and on, even picking crops. I was over in Egypt recently, and I saw robotics out in the field that they were testing to pick crops. So I can go on and on with this. But so what does humans do with their time in this not so distant future? Like again, we have to be in tune with the needs of the world. And we need to then take technology, then take all the things we have learned and apply it and make it practical to solving those problems and improving human life. So, I could have gone into all of the exciting stuff that's coming with AI, that's coming with technology, but I'm really making a point here for the students that are, your audience that are looking to, everyone's gonna have to pivot. I know this because I work in my work with individuals that have that are struggling with, okay, I'm no longer useful in my field of work. So now what do? My job's going away. We know last year that AI and robotics replaced a lot of people in the workforce.
So what would you, because everybody is worrying about the future. The new people, students, they need to make these planning for the future because they are living the future. They are going to live in the future. They are investing their career in the schools for the future. And even the top level management is worrying about and curious about the future. They're leading a company. Everybody from bottom up, they all worry about the future. So it's very important. What do you think about the future? So I'm very curious, with all these experience, what would you suggest as a future for the new people or for any people? And of course, the people are worrying about, there are some rumors people are talking. For example, they say the software industry is ended now. We don't need any software engineers anymore. You probably heard about these things. So what do you think about the near future or the far future? Where are we going? Where are we evolving? The IT industry, the humankind, where are we going now?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question, very interesting question actually. So I'll say from quite from ancient times up to today, what I've been studying, one thing that has been certain is the ever expansion of the human consciousness. So you see, it doesn't really matter. We today, what drives us more than everything else is this issue of providing services, right, goods and services, to meet some kind of satisfaction from humankind, and as long as that is being met, we are good. Now, when it comes to the evolution of technology itself, like I said, again, I've said it's always been around the consciousness. There have been situations where technology have gone wrong, where we've made those leaps, but went the wrong way. It's happened in history. You can study if you consult some of these ancient histories we heard about, the cataclysmic events that happened maybe in the Atlantean times and things like that. So you hear about things like that. So, but one thing that had been steady again, I said, is this expansion of consciousness. Where are we taking it? I have my takes about why technology was actually given to humanity, to human beings. Why do we have technology? For me, technology um, was to help us facilitate our tasks here on this planet Earth, um, so that we can spend more time, having to, um, contemplate, the vastness of what we are in terms of consciousness. So that's what it is for me. And if we don't go along those lines, what will happen is that we're bound to fail and repeat um, the mistakes of those past civilizations. You see. So again, it was, at one point the ancient Egyptians were, they were the talks of everything. They were at the top of their game. But you can see that the technology stayed behind. A lot of stuff stayed behind. They got to a point where they realized that it was all about human interaction. What do we do about humanity? See, that was, everything was tied to humanity, tied to the family, and tied to things like that. Because despite the fact that they evolved in their technology at that time, So again, that's an example for us. We need to start looking for more time to spend together as humanity. Let's focus on the humanity that we are, right? And because technology will always be evolving in such a way that, and again, different people or different organizations actually call the shots in terms of technology. There are some who are going to use it for different purposes, some want to use it for, but one thing that stays the fact that we are evolving. Is it helping evolving our consciousness per se? Yeah, so that's what we should focus. For me, it's a private personal thing. Yeah.
Okay, you are always pinpointing about the human, both of you. So it is very important. And I cannot stop myself for asking you, for example, what is changing for the human? So people are saying, for example, human is the same human for thousands of years, nothing changes. Do you agree with this? Because it's very related with the evolution of the IT industry, computers, AI, and other things. Are we the same human or are we changing? Perhaps we can start with you, Henry.
Well, Sadi, if we track the evolution of humans, we can clearly see the change. And I'm gonna do a real quickie because I'm gonna come to what I feel is a vital point for the next change of humans. So we can go back to Homo australopithecus when we were in trees. That's the southern human, the southern man, basically because we came from the south part of the earth. And then we came out the trees and we began to, there's a few in between, but we began to walk upright. And then science called that Homo erectus. Yeah. And so we went from Homo erectus and then we began to walk further and we began to explore the earth. We discovered fire and tools, and we were able to not have to protect ourselves against the environment and including animals, so we could go into caves and take a nap, rest that night with the fire and whatever. So this allowed us to think more. This allowed us to dream. And all of a sudden we realized something happened while I was asleep. I saw things. And we realized that we were more than just a physical body. And so we became the wise man, the Homo sapien. And actually, Neanderthal was considered the Homo sapien at the time, believe it or not. And in the modern world, try to make the Neanderthals look basically primitive, but we found paintings and we're finding paintings in caves, and we're finding structures that was around during the time of Neanderthal, and we have to ask, where did they come from, even in your country?
Yeah, in Göbekli Tepe.
Göbekli Tepe, yeah. So I'm getting to your point. So then from Neanderthal, along come this new form of man who had changed again and evolved, and we call him Homo sapiens sapien. So, and that's who we are right now. We're the modern man. But look at what we're doing. The first time we discovered how to tap the secrets of the atom, what did we do with that knowledge? We said, hey, let's put it to the test. And we went and destroyed 200 and some thousand lives in another part of the world. So we use it to dominate, to destroy. Mm-hmm. So this wise man, this Homo sapiens sapien, is using all of this technology to we're doing good things. I haven't talked about the advances in medicine, but so the next evolution of humanity is this. Mm-hmm. We have to come to understand that we're all connected. And to me, that's Homo Amorus. Amorus.
You mean the love, right?
The love. Yeah, or I could go one step before that and say Homo universalis. The fact that we recognize that we're all universally connected. And why is this important? But I want to focus on the Homo Amorus, but those two have to go hand in glove. And again, it may take us another 100, 200, 300 years. I hope not. I hope AI is going to accelerate our ability to access information and realize our connectiveness. But it's important because, as Manfred alluded to, we're here to paint the beauty of the what I call the divine world. And so how do we paint that beauty? We have to know how it looks. What informs us? So the collective 8.2 billion, if we're all connected, and see, remember we started this connection thing with, first we connected cities with roads, right? With roads and railroads and highways. Then we moved to the information technology where we connected people with, Manfred talked about his career with cable, and we connected offices and companies, global companies with cable under the sea, and then we went to the cloud, satellites. So now, what's the next step? In order to understand the total needs, and there I am again, the total needs and challenges of the future of humanity, the next phase of humanity, how do we usher it in? We're going to have to connect our minds. And somebody's going to have to process all of that data, because you got 8.2 billion people thinking different thoughts. So we're hoping that you're gonna help us with the AI to connect all those minds and put it into a central database that we can all access, and then we'll know what we have to do next to get to the stars.
Manfred,
Internet
connected
of
to
all
this
things.
question, I want to extend it a bit because, as Henry mentioned, now we have implants, brain-computer interfaces, and the people are talking about the transhumanism. So a very famous question is about can we convert our bodies into the machines? So is it possible to transfer the knowledge or your consciousness from your body to something else, or by replacing the parts in your body one by one day you become a robot or machine? You mentioned about this mysticism many times. So would you think it is possible for us to become a machine, a transhuman? And what would you think about these futuristic and sci-fi scenarios about the humanity, because it's coming by, because there are already some implants on the brain. They use it in the human beings already. So that's something we must be careful about, and we must get ready for these changes, evolutions. What do you think about them?
Yeah, so I'll talk about the physical substance
Mm-hmm.
and then essence. So physical substance versus essence. And your question was, the first one was, will humanity transform, in terms of becoming a machine, the cyborg and stuff like that? Uh, Now, I was very, very attentive, and then you said, with human beings, humans. And I'll say, yeah, in substance, they can do it. You can replace every single limb with a machine. You can do that, and you have very sophisticated computer systems and chips that will able to help you, make all those movements and stuff. But in essence, the lie cannot be done, because human being. I will say
Can you
yes.
just open these terms for our audience, because it might be something new for everybody? What do you mean by the substance? What do you mean by the essence?
Yes. So I'm talking about the physicality of a human.
Mm-hmm.
The physicality. Think about,
biology.
your body, the biology. Look at your limbs. We can replace these limbs.
Mm-hmm.
We can replace the hands. We can replace everything. You can do it. Yes, I agree to that. I've seen
They are the
a
machines
situation.
after all.
Yeah, machines. You have. That's where the machines are wonder amazing. It comes and help. Our technology helps us. But then there is a piece of who truly we are in consciousness. The essence of what
Mm-hmm.
we are can never be changed. It can
Mm-hmm.
never. Nothing outside. That's the beauty of humanity. I'll borrow a word of a great French philosopher. It says, um, we are talking here about the essence, right? We're talking about, yeah, I'm trying to quote Louis Claude de Saint Martin,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he talks about the fact that there's this peace and that's what actually makes us human beings. So when we talk about humanity as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
talk about human beings. So a being, right? That being part of us, that's the essence I'm talking about. That being part. It's the essence. And it says that part, which for us as human beings, we mostly focus the fact that it's in the heart center, around the heart center. Uh, Not too long ago, Henry was talking about the uh, uh, the Amorus being, right? The Homo Amorus, right? So, and that's what we have to focus. Focus on that love and peace. That peace that we talk about that ties us to that soul. That soul. So that root within, like the Claude Saint Martin talks about. So that's a peace that will never change. That's a peace that will always stay. And I'll hear from some of my religious folks, they'll say, the Christians say, okay, Jesus forever, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's a piece that will never change, the soul part of what we are. But now, like I said, the physicality. In other words, the physical body will change. You can do anything. You can put piercing, you can cut, you can replace. Today we replace our linings. We shave our eyebrows and we line it with different things. In the future, who knows? We might decide that, okay, the arm doesn't look well. Maybe we're going to replace it with a synthetic arm with some very nice, fast computer chips that will work better and stuff like that, and things, But again, what will not change is the essence of what we are truly. So the soul piece, that part science can never create. And let nobody lie to you. Let nobody tells you false. Otherwise, it can never be replaced. It can never be made. The laboratory cannot make it. No technology can make it. That's what makes us special.
Yeah,
That's
very important, a unique thing. And Henry, the people were working like the robots in the factories in the Industrial Revolution time, in the farms, as you said, like the horses of this time. So now the robots are trying to become human. So instead of humans becoming robots, now robots are trying to become human, and we are researching on how to create a robot acts like a human. So what is unique in the human, and what makes us human? I want to ask this question straightforward.
Yeah.
What is human? How can you be sure that you are a human? So, for example, I may be a robot that is programmed to feel like a human, and how can I disprove this? And how can I prove that I am a real human? And what makes a person human?
So I'm gonna piggyback off what Manfred said, but as a technologist, I'm gonna play what people call the devil's advocate a little bit here, because I saw a movie recently, and in this movie, the robot made the human fall in love with them.
You can do this.
And the question is, how can you do that? How can you make this person have an emotional bond to a so-called non-sentient being that's made up of plastic, metal, and data? So the real question is, can you synthesize human consciousness? That's the big question. So you say, what's a human? Everyone knows about the biology, the structure, and all, but we have this thing that the philosophers termed and ultimately became called the soul. And that's a part of us that is, again, connected with what I call source. But from a scientific perspective, it's the thing that allows us to sense our environment and be aware of our environment, including humans and animals the same. It's what allows your dog at home to sense that you're 3 miles down the road and now you're 50 feet and he's wagging his tail in the house and you don't even know he's doing that. That's sentience. So humans have the most evolved, well, I don't want to say they have the most evolved aspect, because I'm even questioning myself as I'm saying it. Yeah. But humans has two things humans have. Along with that sentience, humans have what we call free will. The ability to make logical decisions, intentional decisions outside of instinct, outside of what we have the natural propensity to do by virtue of nature, how we're wired through nature. Humans have the ability to go against that. For instance, I could be angry at someone, and I've seen this happen, but I could still conjure up a smile on my face. I could walk into a room. I could be angry at everybody in the room. There's a kid that bombed a church about 3-4 years ago. He asked them, could he come in and pray with them and worship with them? So he knew what he was going to do. He was going to bomb them. But he, as a human, was able to put on a mask and give the appearance that he was a part of them. And he smiled and he showed the emotions of love. So you see how an animal couldn't do that.
Yeah.
A robot could be trained to do that, and that's the thing, and that's the fine line right now. So I think I've defined the human for the most part. So now the question, I guess, is you talked about transhumanism. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think that based the premise I just gave and the examples I just gave, I think it's pretty clear is that when you can make a decision outside of how you were wired with nature, and again, I say if you can be mad and smile and hug someone, but you're still angry, nobody else can. No animals can't do that. Let's leave robots out right now, but animals can't do that. They can't pretend. We can pretend, and I'm using that simple word. So that's free will. That's free will.
Free will makes human, and that's what you say.
I think aside from, because I'm convinced all living beings are sentient. Well, they are sentient. So free will is the key. Free will.
For a human, being free from instincts, just like an animal, makes human, or being free from programs, just like the robots have, makes a human. So that's what.
Yeah, and we can contemplate the future. We can contemplate creation, but some would argue that bees can contemplate the future, and bees can contemplate creation, and birds can contemplate the future.
They're also evolving.
Huh?
They are also evolving.
They are also evolving, but my cousin out in California told me the squirrels don't eat the nuts off the trees anymore. They're peeling the oranges off his trees now. Because
Progress for them.
the progress. So anyway, that's how you can prove you're human, I think, is the whole thing with free will. Do something that goes against the natural order of things. And you pay a price for that, but you can do it. Free will allows you to do it.
Yeah. Do you want to add something?
Oh, you want to close it?
Yeah.
No, I'll say, so I was thinking while Henry was talking, and particularly to your question, so you said, what makes us a human, and my definition of human is a little bit different from, so again, I had talked about it, said a human being. I mean, what do you mean is a human being, right? So we're talking about a soul-infused human. That being part, that part that is undefined, unlimited, right? Combined to that human part, which is animalistic, instinctive.
It is
So
limited.
it's limited, right? It's that one is transient. But we're talking about this being. Remember, we're human beings, not just human.
Unlimited.
So, but what makes us a human
unlimited
being?
Desires,
right?
everything.
What makes us a human being is the ability, like he said, in consciousness to think beyond the rim of not just our limited space in here that the body occupies, but outside of these boundaries, and step out and then come back. So you can think, contemplate space, contemplate the stars and things like that, and then step back. Right? That's what makes us, and that's the only difference. I think that the only thing that makes a difference between us and even those animals, the dogs and those bees, even that intelligent bee, that intelligent bee cannot go to space. See, we can contemplate space and then go to the space. You see, that intelligent bee cannot do that. So again, that's what makes us them. So a human being is a soul-infused one who can think outside of the instinctual nature. See, so you think outside, and that's why when you commit a crime that is based on some instinct, it doesn't matter. We punish you because we believe that as a human being, you can say no. Right. You have the ability to be able to do that. Come back to what he just said. You have that free will. To be able to, to make that judgment, pass that judgment, even though I have my doubts about free will, as opposed to free choice.
Free choice.
So yeah, but that's what makes a human being: the ability to step out in consciousness, to contemplate outside of the limited scope of what the thing they are.
This is also a definition for the difference between the robots or AI and
Yes.
human. They are
Yeah.
also limited.
Yeah.
They cannot
Yeah.
have unlimited desires and unlimited will.
We talk about you have to give them a space to do their work. You have to give those robots space. You need to give them limitations. You need to create them with some limitation. They are creatable limitation. They are limitations. Human beings have no such limitations. We can think outside of that. And if he has the opportunity, if he builds the right tools, he can actually do it.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Okay, before we close, do you want to add something more for our audience? Do you have any recommendations? Do you have anything that you want to mention?
Well, I'm going to try to truncate this thought that just came to my mind.
Please.
Because I'm beginning to question whether or not a robot can have aspirations beyond their physical environment. So if I, because I'm a technologist, I love technology. If I encode into something all of the data of the universe, the information of the universe, because we have it, right? We know how many stars. We don't know how many stars, but we have mapped a portion of the universe, and I infuse that into the robot. And how do you build aspiration? That's a word.
Important word.
That's a word.
Aspiration.
Yeah. Can you mimic aspiration? And I'm a truncated on that. Can you mimic aspiration? And can you mimic that aspiration in a way that it's beneficial for the thing that's aspiring without destroying itself? So that's the thought. To close it out again for me, this is about the human experience, and again, your audience is going to say that guy won't let that thing go, but I can't let it go. If I was a tiger, I'd be talking about tiger things. If I was an elephant, I'd be advocating for elephant stuff. But I'm a human, so I'm advocating for human stuff, and I long for the day when we arrive at that state of Homo Amorus, where we're fully connected and we're at peace and we're at love with each other, and now we're able to contemplate and aspire to go beyond Mother Earth and go to the stars and come back. Yeah, last word. So as I talk about the evolution of humanity and us becoming Homo Amorus, I sort of have it indirectly encoded in my book, The Fire Within. And this is what one of the things Manfred talked about. He talked about that essence. And that's what this book is about. It's about discovering that essence that Manfred talked about within. And I've encoded that essence into many English words in here, and I call them gifts. They're the gifts of the human, gifts of humanity, gifts like supportiveness. My wife asked me the other day, what do you like about me? She's very supportive. So she has that gift of supportiveness, the gift of cheer. This guy has the gift of cheer. Wherever he is, there's some cheer, there's some fun going on.
He's smiling when he's silent.
So that's what the book, The Fire Within, is about, is helping individuals discover that essence within them and those gifts that are within them that can help them to navigate this change that we just talked about and to create a sustainable living outside of the what I call the collapsing industrial age and usher us into a new age. So thank you for allowing me to present my book, Sadi.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all this information. Any words before we close?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about human beings. We've talked about technology. I think one thing that had been, I'm actually doing a doctorate in AI. So, and one thing that has always intrigued me is the evolution of technology and the human consciousness and technology, and via V, Uh, so, and what I see, constantly is the fact that one thing never changes, and that is this aspect we talk about, the essence, of what we are. It never changes, no matter how you look at it. It's always been there. And if you start focusing more on that essence, you would develop more happiness. There's a source of our happiness, a source of this unconditional love, right? And that's what it is. And as information technology professional, I want to say something. And at the same time, also being somebody who is a student of nature or a philosopher, I'll say technology as a whole was given to humanity by some great minds, right? It may be minds of the past, and it keeps evolving. It was given for us to be able to make our work, what the Frenchman call a tâche, uh, make our work easier, so that gives us more time in life to go to contemplate the universe and contemplate our environment. That's what technology was given to us. And so whatever thing going to happen out there, whatever just become obsolete, things become technology changes and things, there should be no fear. For whoever is getting to this path of technology, there should be no fear,
Right.
because, again, focus on that essence part. Okay. And that technology is to serve that part, so that it frees the mind to be able to contemplate these things. So that's what we should focus on. And I'll go again and talk about, I'll repeat the fact that I talked about mentorship. So for those who are getting to technology, mentorship is very important. Mentorship meaning that you want to intern, you want to become an apprentice to someone. You want to go and, I don't think there's any person with the right mind, anyone who know a professional with the right mind. The right mind will not turn down someone who want to ask a question, who want to know. I want 15 minutes of your time. Sir, can I have 15 minutes, 30 minutes of your time? I have this question I want to ask because I'm going this path and I need some help in the. And they'll be able to, they'll stop and want to help you, And so with that, what will happen is that we're going to become like these great philosophers of the past, like Moses,
Yeah.
the great one who will be able to tackle everything that, because they focus on the essence, right? We're going to become like Rumi, who was everything and a poet and everything. He could write and move mountains, And so that's what's driving. That's what's driving us. That's what's driving our growth, is the fact that the essence, the soul, is trying to express itself. And so, fortunate enough for us, we have technology, and that's what it uses to, to express itself. So let's just focus on that, and everything will be wonderful. Yeah. So.
Okay. One more time, thank you for coming and joining us.
Thanks for
Pleasure is all mine too. I mean, we can do this anytime.